One question on a thank you page made one brand an extra $6 million in a year. Here's the question. Today on the show, I'm joined by Matthew Stafford, who is the managing partner at Build, Grow, Scale, where he helps e-commerce brands scale beyond 7 and 8 figures through data-driven optimization. With 30 plus years of entrepreneurial experience and ownership in multiple e-commerce ventures, he's mentored thousands of store owners and helped hundreds break past the $1 million mark. He is a sought-after speaker and has spent the last 7 years on stages across North America, including hosting BGS Live, which is the largest e-commerce optimization event on the continent. Matt's approach is simple: real-world strategies and proven results. Matt, welcome to the Taryn Reeves Show.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Me too. It is an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Now, you have spent quite a lot of time as an entrepreneur, 30 plus years, I believe. And like we mentioned, have mentored thousands of store owners. Why e-commerce? Why not something else? Why not like a service-based business? What drew you to that and then evolved into you founding Build, Grow, Scale?
Yeah, so I had a service-based business for the first 23 years. It was commercial concrete. We traveled around the country for about 200 days a year, pouring big distribution centers and box stores and things like that. And I went to a Tony Robbins event, and he was selling a program called Money Masters. It was a new booklet and DVD every month for an entire year. And they highlighted different entrepreneurs that were making money online. And at that point, I had never used my computer for anything other than sending emails and proposals for the concrete work. And I thought, wow, that would be amazing. If I could work on my computer, I could do it from anywhere and not have to live on the road. So I started digging into different areas to make money and happened upon, it was a t-shirt selling platform. And what you would do is you'd create a design, put it on a t-shirt, and then run ads to it and sell as many as you could in a campaign length, and they would print, ship, and fulfill it. So that gave me the ability to learn how to do it without having all the different responsibilities of the e-commerce business. Over the next three and a half years, we did about $15 million in t-shirt sales.
Wow.
And I was like, this is what I want to do full time. And so I sold the concrete business and 2 other brick and mortar salons that I had at the time and went full time e-commerce about 14 years ago.
Yeah, wow. So it all started with concrete and t-shirts.
Yeah.
It's quite the combination. And of course, Tony Robbins. A lot of us entrepreneurs are familiar with Tony Robbins. So what was that specific turning point? Was it hitting a specific revenue goal? Was there something you were struggling with? Talk me through the emotion and the journey with that turning point to go from concrete to t-shirts to what you do now.
Yeah, the concrete business did very well. I wasn't unhappy with that aspect of it, but I didn't like living my life in the hotel rooms and being home 1 to 3 days a week, depending on the week. And so for me, it was really to gain back my freedom of being able to have a normal life instead of living on the road. And obviously I needed to replace the income from that. And so I didn't know that that was possible. It took me about 2 years to dial it in. I tried a couple other things before the t-shirts. I tried SEO and a few other things, about a year and a half worth of trial and error, figuring out what would work for me. And then when the t-shirts hit, it was real money fairly quickly. And I could see the writing on the wall. It was definitely possible.
Amazing. What is the real problem that e-commerce brands are experiencing that's preventing them from scaling? It's pretty easy to start an e-commerce brand these days. Like you can go onto Shopify, you can do drop shipping, you can, go to Alibaba, whatever it is. If you've got, a little bit of a brain in your head, you can start an e-commerce brand. But there's such a difference between those who make it and those who don't. What kind of problems are we coming up against? Is it hidden revenue leaks? Is it staffing? What is it?
It's probably a little bit of all that. I definitely think with the way the AI is coming on, you can build a much nicer brand with less people because each of your employees or your team members can become super employees using the different AI tools. I would say the thing that's made our success predictable and repeatable is that we use data and analytics. We don't guess. We can reverse engineer exactly what's happening. So as long as you can get eyeballs to your products and we can see what they're doing on the page, we can start reverse engineering how we get them to take the actions that we want or where they're not understanding what you're trying to do. Early on, a lot of store owners, they make the mistake of thinking that the theme that they bought is optimized for conversions. Most
Yeah.
of the time it's optimized for looks, not on what sells. It doesn't matter what theme you get. We're going to go in and put optimization principles on there. And the thing that I enjoy about what we do is we're still doing the same thing that we did 10 years ago. We're using human behavior principles and not the latest, greatest trick or hack, because that works for a little while and then it stops working and you would always be chasing that. So, what we care about is how are the people navigating the site? How are they finding what they're looking for? How clear is the message? How good are the images? Things like that. The website itself really matters. In fact, our tagline for the last 10 years has been traffic's not your problem, because the average e-commerce website converts around 2 to 3%,
Mm-hmm.
more closer to 2%. And so I always thought originally I was good at traffic, but that still seemed very backwards to me because everybody would say, oh, you need more traffic. And I'm like, well, if 100 people came to my site and only 2 or 3 people took the action that I want, it feels like the site's not working. If I can get 2 or 3 more of those 97 people that didn't take the action to buy, I just doubled my business on the same amount of ad spend. Now I
Mm.
can buy way more traffic because I use that line that Dan Kennedy said, he who can spend the most to acquire the customer wins. Well, if
Yeah.
I'm getting 6 sales for my competitors are getting 3, I can afford to spend a little more traffic and it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy that
Mm.
I have more customers and will build a better store.
That makes total sense. So let's talk about some of those human behaviors. Anyone can hop on WordPress, Shopify, and go, I like the look of this theme. And you're right, that's where most entrepreneurs start, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that stat about 2% conversions on e-commerce stores. That is shockingly low when you could be capturing so much more of the market. Even if you double that, triple that, I mean, that could make such a difference to your bottom line, right? And like
It makes the difference between not making it and being hyper successful.
100%. It's that beautiful ecosystem that can build and build and build. So what are some of those human behaviors that, like, let's say I'm a user, I hop onto a website. How is my brain working? And this all happens subconsciously.
I can break it down for you. We'll go through a couple of pages just as an example. Most people or most entrepreneurs think that their homepage should start the selling process. So they're giving products and add to cart, things like that, where I believe the homepage is really the top of funnel.
Mm.
Did I land on the right site? Do they sell what I was looking for? And then 2, how do I find what I'm looking for easily? Most entrepreneurs think that if I show them what I'm selling and give them the ability to do that, they're going to buy more. And the truth of the matter is, they're not ready to make a buying decision at that
Mhm.
point yet. And so, what we need to do is get them to take a couple of micro commitments to find what they're looking for, and then the likelihood of them spending money with us is way greater. For example, having a search bar on your site, typically that traffic that uses that will convert twice as high as the site average and spend almost 4 times as much as the average site visitor.
Re-
So when you think about it, why would that happen? What would make that be the case? It has to be because they used the search bar, found what they were looking for, and now they're much likely higher to convert. So that
Mm.
tells me, if I look at that data, they couldn't find what they're looking for, and that's why they're not buying.
Yeah.
Because if we could help them find what they're looking for, then they'll buy. The other thing that's really important on the home page is if they're not going to use the search bar, that your navigation is really clear.
Hmm.
You'll be shocked to see how many sites, when we go in and do audits, they have shop all or miscellaneous or accessories or all these different terms that essentially they were too lazy to break it down for the consumer, and they're making the consumer do all of the digging instead of them making it easy for them to find what they're looking for. And I
Hmm.
always tell the owner that the little paradigm shift that I want you to make is stop looking at your site from the standpoint of how do I show them everything to sell more, to how do I help them find the solution to their problem. And when you look at it from that standpoint, then you'll start putting in the things that will make your site convert much higher. They don't need more stuff, they need less stuff, but they need it to be actionable on the page where you're entering the conversation that they're having. So having products on the homepage for $100 plus, I always ask the owner, do they have enough information? Because it'll be like a product, $100 or $130, add to cart. I'm like, do they have enough information to make $130 decision right there? And they're
Hmm.
like, no. I'm like, well, that's what you're asking them to do. Of course they're going to leave, or they're going to go, yeah, I'll come back later when I have more time, because you
Yeah.
didn't make it easy for them. You made a business problem. You not breaking it down to the simplest step. Essentially, you're forcing them to have to do that in order to find what they want. And that is going to ruin conversions.
That makes total sense. So let's talk real world practicalities and implementation then. Let's say you've done an audit on a business and, they now have a search bar, they've simplified the process. Can you give me a real world example where small tweaks and optimization like that with a brand that you've worked through has really massively made a difference on their bottom line?
Number one thing that we do,
Yeah.
that has generated more revenue and more wins for our clients than anything else. On the thank you page, after somebody buys, we put a question that says, what was the one thing that almost made you not buy?
Mm,
You'll get about 30% of your buyers will answer it. And when you
really?
get about 200 people to answer that, you'll have statistical data that you can go back and start cleaning up parts of your store that they didn't understand, that wasn't clear, that created friction, and you will increase conversions. And I have one example. This is probably the biggest example from one survey like that. The company sells a digital product and it's a training, and we put that, what's the one thing that almost made you not buy? We got 520 plus responses in 7 days, and 460 plus all said the video was too long. Owner said, yeah, we can't shorten the video. We've tried shorter ones. We've tried several different things, and it always hurts conversions. And they said, okay, well, let me think about it for a little bit. And I ended up calling him back about 15, 20 minutes later and asked him, how does he watch videos? And he's like, what do you mean? I said, do you watch them all on 1x speed or do you speed them up? He goes, oh, no, I definitely speed them up. Like, I don't have time to watch them all at 1x. I said, what if we gave them the option to watch the video at 1.25 or 1.5
Mm.
and see what that does? We did that and we ran that test. We got a 10% lift on their conversions. So they do about $60 million a year, 10% lift. The projected earnings from that one split test was about $6 million over a year's period of time.
Wow. And what was this particular brand selling out of interest?
It was a training product. So it was
Training.
a digital, yeah,
A
yeah,
digital training
yeah,
product.
digital training. Yeah,
Amazing. So such a small tweak and made such a massive difference to the bottom
massive.
line.
Yeah, because the customer that just spent money told us what they didn't appreciate about the site or what they didn't understand. And so when
Yeah.
we fixed those things, the rest of the users had a better experience and they converted, 10% better.
So just to be clear, that question that you're asking, it happens after purchase and it's some sort of like a pop-up on the website?
Yep, yep, on the thank you page. Yeah, we don't want to ask people that didn't spend the money because they're going to make up a reason,
Of
and they're a
course.
lot harder to get a response. The people
Yeah.
who just gave you money and want to help you,
Yeah.
They voted for you with their wallet. They're hoping that you're going to be around. And when you ask that question, they understand that you're trying to make things better.
Amazing. I love that. I'm actually going to implement that on my own website. So
Yeah.
thank you for
There
that.
would be I would never have a website that didn't have it because of how it's probably responsible for 6 of our 10 biggest wins of all time.
Right. You know what? I think this can even work for service-based businesses. That small tweak is what's almost stopped you from buying, what almost stopped you from booking with me, or what's almost stopped you from contacting me. Um,
100%. We
also,
use it on book a calls. We use it on even on websites that are just capturing leads with opt-ins because
yeah,
those people want to tell you what they didn't understand. They want to help you succeed.
yeah. I love that. You've scaled lots of stores past the $1 million mark. What is one of the most surprising lessons that you've learned in that process?
That's a broad question. I think to narrow it down, I would just say the surprising thing to me is it doesn't matter what product you're selling, that if you get the communication from your website to that person correct, that success is duplicatable and repeatable.
Mhm.
A lot of people think like, oh, well, that worked for you, or you're good at this thing. What we're using, the data and analytics to create that, takes all of those variables out of it. It doesn't make it about who's selling it. It makes it about how the person's interacting with the website, which is uh, it's product agnostic.
Amazing. Let's talk about, we're not talking startup anymore. We're talking scaling beyond 7 and 8 figures. For the store owners who have made a fair bit of money so far, they may be at that 7 figure mark and they want to scale beyond that. What do you believe is the main thing that's holding them back from that? What are they hitting? Is it mindset? Is it revenue leaks? Is it staffing issues? Is it lead issues? Talk to me about that.
It's probably a combination of a few of those, but I will tell you that I think 100% of the time it is the owner,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to do with their mindset and their beliefs. Unfortunately, it has a lot to do with their own self belief,
Yeah.
because whenever you work on the 6 inches between the ears of the owner, the entire business does better. So the business wasn't the problem; it was the belief system that was running the business.
Mm,
And I always tell the owners early on, because I believe this, and I've witnessed it, like you said, hundreds of times, that businesses don't have a business problem, they have people problems. And
mhm.
what I mean by that is it doesn't matter what business you're in. I can go find 3 or 4 of your competitors that are 2, 3, 10, 100 times bigger than you. So the issue isn't with your business having the potential to be bigger. It has to do with the people that you have. They got you to where you're at, but they're probably not going to get you to that next level, or not all of them are going to stay with you to get to that next level. And that's where the mind shift happens, and that's where the mentality has to shift in order to grow.
Is it different scaling a 7 figure business as opposed to an 8 figure business?
I'm going to do an audit on either one of them and find out where the drops are, and then go there first. So yeah, I think yeah, because an owner could be really good at email and get to, a very high revenue number, but then the other parts of their business aren't supporting that, or aren't getting, the new leads. They could be really good at getting new people, but they're really poor at getting people to buy again and again, or to add higher average order value. So it really is context dependent. But the thing that I'll tell you is it's not super complicated, because there's only a few different metrics that really matter. And most of the time, the owner's good at 1 or 2 of them, but not all of them. And
Mhm.
uh, they're really called our blind spots for a reason. It's not because they don't want to be better. It's just because that's happens to be where their blind spot is, or where their limiting belief is, or where their people don't support the business. They don't have the right people in the right seats. And having those conversations, a lot of times it's not big sweeping changes. It's usually, I always say, small hinges swing big doors. It usually is a combination of 2 or 3 small things that are choking it out. And I like the analogy of if you have a pizza oven and it'll make 14 pizzas an hour, but you're selling 30 pizzas an hour, it doesn't matter. You're still going to be behind no matter what, because that oven will only cook 14. And so wherever that bottleneck is, you can have a bunch of the other areas of the business that are actually overproducing for the bottleneck, and you can't diagnose where it's at till you find it. Once you open that up, a lot of things start to work better.
Yeah. So let's talk data then, because there's a lot of us who don't live in the data world every day, and it's something that people go, "Oh, that's not like I don't want to touch that." But I know that your company, Build, Grow, Scale, data optimization and information is pretty much everything. But
Yeah.
for those of us who don't play in the world of data and analytics, and we should, what is the first metric that we really want to be paying attention to so that we can identify or begin to identify profit leaks in our businesses?
I wouldn't say that there's one metric that you could look for,
Yeah,
because it depends on where the problem in the business is.
sure.
If your website, say your bounce rate is 50% or 60%, that means you're running your metrics off of 100 visitors, but 60 of them are bouncing before they ever take an action. You're really only showing 40, but you're spending 100. And
Yeah.
so that would be an issue where we got to get more people to stay on site. It could be you have a 10% add to cart rate, but a 1% conversion. Well, then probably your cart and your checkout need some optimization so that you're getting more of those people through the funnel. You need to see all the data, and the data needs to be accurate. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're guessing, and then you don't know what's working, what's not working, or you don't know that, like, maybe what you just tested is working, but that bottleneck is still there. You're not seeing the result from it, thinking like, oh, we've tried these 4 things and none of them work. Truth
Hmm.
is, maybe 2 or 3 of them worked, but you couldn't see that because they were dropping off before you got the revenue from it. One metric that I do look at to see how healthy a site is average site visitor or revenue per site visitor. And so we want the revenue per site visitor to keep going up. And then we know the health of the website is actually doing better, and the changes that we're making matter.
Yeah. So I'm a storyteller at heart. I obviously have this podcast. I'm a best-selling author, model, actress, UGC creator. I love data as well, because as an entrepreneur, if you're not doing data, then you're not doing it very smartly, and there is a better way.
Yeah.
How do we balance the two? How do we bring our creative storytelling, for example, onto a website, keeping in mind human behavior, data-driven optimization? How do we marry the two? Is there some sort of process? What would you do?
Yeah, some products take education, some are self explanatory. Depending on what you're selling and who your demographic is, the site needs to match that. I do believe copy on your products drives conversion. It's surprising how many people just use very generic copy for their products,
Mm,
or they talk all about themselves. One of the things that I try to get the owner to do is talk more about the problem that they solve. I really think that your copy, about 70% of it, should be about the problem and the pain,
yeah,
because if you can describe that better than the person who's looking for the solution, they're going to automatically assume that you are the one to fix it. And
yeah,
so, yeah, the story matters a lot, and I think personality matters. Adding humor in, if you like humor, definitely sells a lot. So we try to not make it very corporatey, but to make it very personable and emotional driven, because people buy emotionally and then they justify it with logic. Yet when you look at most e-commerce, it's all logic. And people think like, oh, well, if I tell them this, the ingredients, or if I tell them what it's made from, that's what's going to sell.
yeah,
When really they make a decision emotionally, and then that stuff will help them make the final decision, but they never get to that because they're not emotionally connected to you.
yeah,
And with e-commerce, I would say about 40% of your revenue should be from email. And email is very relationship based. The biggest lever that we can pull is to go in and look at their email flows and the way that they're communicating. We see it all the time. Brands doing really, really, really good. And then they get to this point where they think, oh, we're a big brand now. We need to be more corporate-y. And they do a rebrand and then things just fall off and they tank.
Yeah.
We're working with a brand right now that went through that life cycle to get back to putting the personality back in, putting the humor and things like that that worked, that it doesn't have any longer when it's not working.
Mm. Yeah. I want to talk about your event,
Okay.
BGS Live. You say it's the world's largest, and I believe you,
Yeah.
e-commerce optimization event in North America.
Yeah.
It is a thing to run events, right? There are so many moving parts. And then there's all the marketing and all of that sort of stuff, all the people to wrangle. And then there's the after, nurturing process that you need to be doing. What is one behind the scenes insight from being on so many stages that has really stuck with you?
We're not currently running it, but I can still give you lots of advice because we did it for years. I would say the biggest eye opener for me was the longer that we did it, we got better and better and we learned data more and more. It's very easy to think that your client or your ideal customer is at your level. I think over time we started teaching above where they were at and it started connecting less. And we had to go back to what worked in the beginning. Not everybody is in, like you said, not everybody's in the data 7 days a week for 10 years in a row and really understand. So it's very easy for us to think that we were simplifying it, but talk over their head. And
Mm.
so from the event standpoint, it needs to be teaching them how to do it, but not what. So really help them see the journey, future cast where they can be, and then they'll want to do business with you because you can teach them the how to do it.
Yeah, I love that. I know that this is kind of a broad question, but I am going to push you on it.
Yeah.
I've noticed that you don't like to answer these broader questions, which is totally fine. But if I had to force you to tell me to strip everything down for what you believe is to be one successful kind of principle for e-commerce brands to make it, what would it be?
Um, I would say clarity trumps persuasion.
Mhm.
So people try to be persuasive and they understand what they mean and what they're saying, but they don't make the message clear for the average user. Most sites, we get the most wins by going in there and looking at what people are doing and removing all of the stuff that they're not using. That
Yeah.
makes the website work so much better.
Mm.
Um, the analogy I would say is uh, it reminds me of like you wash the car so that it's clean and looks very presentable, but the seats are so dirty that you won't sit on them. They do a good job of trying to be persuasive so that they go, oh, this is who I want to do business with. But then when they get into the store and start going through it, it's so messy or
Mm.
it's so much stuff that the people can't make a decision and they run into what I would call like a paradox of choice. They
Mhm.
think like if I show them everything I do, that's gonna create more sales. When the truth of the matter is, the things that you do that are creating the sales, that should be what you put front and center, and make all the other stuff find searchable or findable, but not front and center. Most people overload it with too much, and we win by going in and seeing what people aren't using for the majority of it and removing that so that it becomes really simple to navigate.
Yeah. Business is something that is always evolving. And with AI and everything coming onto the scene, things are evolving even faster than we've ever seen before. So, for where we are now, specifically e commerce, where do you see e commerce going in the next few years? And what can entrepreneurs be doing right now, today, to be forecasting their success?
I do believe that what you said is very true. it's going to create a natural cleaning of people that are not doing business well,
Mm-hmm.
because the people who are investing the time and effort into learning AI and learning how to use it are going to produce such a higher quality that people are going to choose to do business with them. Even in our business is changing drastically over the last 24 months because we're so data driven. AI can now ingest so much more data and give us insights that we would never find as humans with our
Mm,
old processes. The more we use AI to look at the data and to give us suggestions, the bigger wins that we're getting and the new stuff that we're finding. So if you're not willing to be bad at it to start with, that's going to hurt you in the long run, because there is people that are taking the time and investing the time to do that. I truly believe that they'll be the people that succeed in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now.
yeah. And Matt, what is one thing that we haven't spoken about yet, but maybe we should have? Is there anything?
I would say go back to the mindset. Being in business for myself for over 30 years, it's kind of the ultimate inner game. It's always going to show you where you're not good enough, or where someone else is better than you,
Yeah.
or where you need to brush up your skills. So building the mental resilience to get up excited every day and keep working at it, because there's business is challenging.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, in all reality, we wouldn't have a business if people didn't have problems. So we're like raising our hand and saying, "Hey, give me your problems. I'll solve them for you."
Yeah.
And that inherently is going to be challenging. Investing in yourself or a good mentor that can walk you through those processes, because a lot of times it does feel like you against the world, because we get to run our businesses from home and we're not in a community with a whole bunch of people. And so I think that kind of stuff matters a lot,
Yeah.
as far as like not just being successful, but also being happy along the way and
Mm-hmm.
enjoying the success that you can create.
Yeah. Amazing. Now, before I let you go, Matt, we have had an amazing conversation on all things e-commerce and scaling, and I've already identified, and I'm not a e-commerce business, as a service provider and professional, some things that I can take away and use in general across my business as well. So thank you so much. You are amazing at what you do. But we have a tradition on the podcast called the book drop, and we want to know what book has impacted you either personally or professionally.
Um, the one that comes to mind that I've recommended to a lot of business owners, and they've all come back with a lot of thanks for it. It's called The Slight Edge by
Hmm.
Jeff Olson, and it's not going to have any like huge epiphanies, but it really talks about your daily processes
Yep.
and how they compound over time. Every single day, you're voting for yourself and for your business with every action that you take, and really being able to look at the different things that you're doing. Is that going to help you over time or hurt you over time? I could not work out this week, and I'm not going to look a lot different by the end of the week. But if I stop working out for a month, it's going to start to show. If
Sure.
I continue to work out every day for a month, in that month period, it's going to show the other direction. But after that first week or two, both entrepreneurs are going to look like they're at the same place. And they're like, "Well, I'm not doing everything you're doing. And it's not hurting me." But
Mm,
you'll see the curves change farther down the road. That book is great, and it made a huge difference for me. I'll tell you, it was the first book that I actually reread immediately. And I ended
wow.
up doing it 3 times. In that 3 times, about a 6 month period, I doubled my income.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. You're selling me on it. I'll
Wow.
have to go and add that one. Beautiful. Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time. For those of you who would like to connect with Matt and build, grow, scale, I will pop all of his links into the show notes for this podcast. But until next time, Matt, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure.